not to judge anybody's choice, but my point is to say that I think that if you look at family and business, instead of looking at them as two separate things, look at them as things that can integrate with each other and support each other, right? The business supports the family supports the business. It's not just more lucrative financially and more fulfilling emotionally. It's so much fun. I
Yeah.
like working with people that love me. I don't like working with people who don't.
Yeah. 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 If you got the right dynamic. Yes, for sure. And then Dr. Alicia, for you, since you have a different approach, you're more connected to this generation that you're teaching around your students in the social work space, in the therapy space. How do you why is that important to you, and how do you kind of make sure that you're pouring into them so they can, if they do become someone who's building a legacy, that you're giving them the tools to be able to have conversations, build relationships, and manage through life as a therapist? Like, how do you help them with that?
Help who? Like help my children
Your
or
stu-
help the student?
help your students be equipped to teach others to be able to go out into the world and impact others so that they can have good mental health.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, we talk about it, and I teach all the practice classes and I also teach the
Hmm.
research classes. So we definitely incorporate self care in the type of training that I do with social work students. So,
Hmm.
I mean, even though you're a student, you're still bound by ethics and you still have to
Yeah.
follow ethics and ethical guidelines and making ethical decisions. So, I mean, I definitely talk to them about it. But one thing with students is that we talk about your implicit biases. You know, you're
Yeah.
going out and you're going to be working with a whole bunch of different types of people who don't believe the same thing that you do. Like, how are you going to separate your personal self from your professional self? Because it's not about you. When I'm in front of a client, I can't tell them what I would do. I have to try to draw out of them, okay, what do you think you should do? I so many times we get sucked into giving advice, and I think that's the beauty of being a therapist, because you can tell people what to do and you have this position of power, but you
Hmm.
have to be very cognizant in that power. And I think compassion is the biggest thing to keep in mind for anybody who wants to be a therapist, is
Okay.
compassion. Even when I talked about pain, compassion for their
Mm.
pain. Compassion means let them connect to their pain and their own feelings about what's happening.
Yeah.
Okay. Pseudo compassion is when you try to get them to forget about it. Oh, forget about it and think positive. No, when
Oh,
when clients are
yeah.
with you, the compassionate thing to do is to have them work through all of the difficult, the sticky situations, the things that they get off their chest. I hear things from my clients that I know they've never told anybody. And that's
Yeah.
a privilege of having that information. And I don't take it lightly. I take it very seriously. The clients
Yeah.
that I see, I'm just honored that they respect me and trust me enough to tell and to get all of this stuff off their chest that they've been holding around.
Yeah.
I've worked with men who are going through some really tragic things, and they'll be laughing and joking with their families and carrying on, but then when they come into our sacred space, they're crying like a baby,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I just feel so honored to be in that position. And so that's what I tell students, when you are helping someone else's in their problem, it's not about you. Put all your own issues to the side. That's why self-care is important, to make sure you do that. And I have a lot of self-care that I'm planning my own retreat. I host
Nice.
retreats for people, but I'm
Okay.
planning my own one in December. I'll be up meditating in the mountains,
Love it. Love it.
connecting to my higher power. And so that's important for me so that I can continue to go out and do the work that I'm doing for my clients.
Yeah, no, I love that.
Yeah.
It taps into both of y'all's purpose and why you do what you do. And one thing Dr. Boyce alluded to was how, with as in kids as a mompreneur, you sounds like you struggle with creating boundaries, right? And how did you, besides him being the bodyguard at the front door and making sure you were able to rest? I know a lot of us as mompreneurs, we struggle with self care, but you seem to have that down now. But take us back to when that was something that you were struggling with, and what did it look like? Why do you think you felt like you had to be so available?
Well, I think all roads lead to COVID, right?
Oh,
Because
Mm,
okay.
before COVID, I was in the office. I was on campus just about every day of the week, 4 or 5 days a week. I was on campus. Now I've actually I have my own office here. I've
Mm-hmm.
had my own private practice, and honestly, in reflecting on it, I was talking to Boyce recently about it. I'm like, it's actually easier to be a mompreneur than it is to be an employee. The hours are
Really?
very flexible. Yeah, the hours
Okay.
are extremely flexible. There's certain times of the day I'm not going to book clients because I know
Yeah.
I have to get my kids to school and they get off the bus, and I want them. I, as a therapist, I know I want to be the very first person that they come in
Mm-hmm.
contact with when they come into the house, because I want to be able to see how they're doing. Did they have a
Yeah.
hard day at school? Sometimes they come home and they're crying. They're teenagers. All sorts of things happen on the bus, at school, at lunch.
Mm-hmm.
He said, she said, and I want to be there for them to give to my children, what I'm giving to everybody else, a listening ear. And I mean, and I think it's great. And I've gotten to the point in my university where I have, I'm a full professor. I have a lot of I don't know, I guess status and flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
So I have some control over my time at the university. Now,
Okay.
because of COVID, I'm 100% teach online. So,
Okay.
2 days a week I'm online, and I can grade papers whenever I feel like it. So my time is very flexible, and I love it because I have children. I can't adhere to every beck and call of the kids. Like, Boyce,
Yeah.
thank you, Boyce, so much for protecting my time. But there are things that are so important to them. I have one daughter who's in dance. Her
Mm-hmm.
dance is so important. She gets up on that stage. She's on the team, and I love to see. I do set aside time where I'm gonna go to her performances and see her
Yeah.
get up there and compete. I have another daughter who's in track and field. Those track and field meets are just way too long. I don't
They
know
are
anybody in
long.
track and field. Kiss your day goodbye. So I try to do what I can to be
Yeah.
there for her in very important, meaningful ways. But the other stuff we farm out to people. I get somebody to do my laundry. I get
Yes.
someone to, sometimes we usually get someone to drive them back and forth, to practices and
Yeah.
things like that. So I thank you, Boyce. I have that I'm afforded the privilege, and the kids are privileged. They got
Mm-hmm.
a whole lot of things that I didn't have
Yeah.
growing up, but I'm honored to
Yeah.
be able to give them that.
I love it. I
Where'd you
love it.
go?
So we're still here. Remember,
Oh,
Riverside.
okay.
Don't go in. We'll edit it out. It's all good.
Ping on me.
Um, I know. No, we're still here. So you guys work so well, it seems, as a couple, in business. You are what I call lovepreneurs, right? You work together. And so sometimes as a mompreneur, you're doing it by yourself. Your spouse is not at all involved in the business, or they can be one foot in the business like mine is. He's a little bit in the business, but tell us
mhm.
about y'all's journey. I know you guys met as entrepreneurs, but how you kind of blended the life together and kind of had to navigate having another spouse who is an entrepreneur and then working together as closely as y'all do.
Well, I'll say this. We spend a lot of time together, but I wouldn't say we work together all the time.
Okay.
And I don't know how, my wife can speak for herself, but I can definitely tell you that in terms of here's one thing I'll say. I was thinking about our community and some of the chaos that I see maybe online when people talk about relationships, and there's kind of a perception, especially if you look at the data. My wife may agree or disagree, I'm not sure, but that there are challenges when it comes to maintaining things like marriage and family, and I think that that's a critical challenge that we have to address, because it's going to be impossible for us to do this whole wealth thing if we're not working together. And so, one thing that I will conclude for sure, and I've said this to people, is that I think the biggest mistake you can do is let other people make the rules for you. Like, if you
Mm,
are watching your favorite internet influencer, who is probably some single man sitting in his mama's basement, telling you how to deal with your woman or your wife or whatever, your life will be as pathetic as his. Or if you
mhm.
listen to some bitter woman who never healed, who's telling you why everything is somebody else's fault but yours, you're going to end up as lonely as she is. And so one of the rules that I have is that I don't let other people make my rules in terms of how I
Love it.
negotiate things with my wife. So for example, I submit to my wife a lot. She submits to me a lot. We
Hmm.
submit to the relationship a lot. We submit to the kids sometimes. I submit to my goals a lot. And
Yeah.
it requires me to also have times where I say I'm not submitting to anything right now. I'm out or I'm focused on something else right now. So people have different personality types. So I am an introvert. My wife is more of a socialized extrovert. She feeds off social energy.
Hmm.
Sometimes it drains me. When I go places and I'm shaking a lot of hands and signing a lot of books, I go in my room and I have to go in my room and just turn the lights out and meditate and